So first off, thank you for coming here on such short notice today. I do want to read a statement, and then I'll give you an opportunity to answer some questions. If I can't answer them, I will. As you know, the Boulder County District Attorney Stan Garnett has announced that his office will file charges against 2 Boulder police officers involved in the shooting death of the Mapleton Elk on January 1st. These officers face 3 felony charges in addition to a number of misdemeanor charges. The Boulder Police Department fully supports the decision of the District Attorney to pursue charges in this case. It is the right decision. And the Department has assisted and cooperated fully with the Colorado Division of Parks and Wildlife and the Boulder County District Attorney's Office. Officers Sam Carter and Brent Kernow have been on paid administrative leave since January 3rd, while the case has been investigated as dictated by department policy and contractual due process. However, effective immediately, I have placed Sam Carter and Brent Kernow on unpaid administrative leave. We realize that this case has hit a sensitive nerve in the Boulder community, and I want to reassure our community that I understand their concerns and that I intend to hold these officers accountable for their actions. While the criminal investigation has mostly wrapped up, there is still an internal personnel investigation underway at the Boulder Police Department. The investigation is different and separate from the criminal investigation and has to do with whether any policies, rules, or procedures have been violated. We needed to proceed cautiously with the internal investigation because we didn't want to interfere with the criminal investigation. The Boulder Police Department provided some of the evidence for the criminal case and cooperated fully with investigators. We hope to move quickly now to complete our internal personnel investigation. Once that is finished, there is a review process that includes a combined community and department member review panel, which will provide recommendations to me on the final disposition. If the allegations are sustained, the discipline for such allegations, including being untruthful, would typically be termination from employment. We apologize for this unfortunate incident. We want our community to know that we take their concerns very seriously and that we're working hard to correct the situation. Thank you.
As I read the affidavit here, I'm looking at some of the text messages from that morning. It looks like they were talking about killing this elk up to 12 hours before the shot was actually fired to kill the elk. Is that how you read it, and how do you react to that?
Well, I think referring to the affidavit, one of the decisions we made in placing the officers on unpaid leave was because of the arrest today and the fact that, I had talked earlier about due process, and we certainly wanted to give these officers their due process. And part of that was allowing the investigation to get to a point so we could make some determination what's the likelihood of charges, if appropriate, that may or may not be filed. Well, now we have obviously established probable cause for the violations that exist on that affidavit. And one of those, of course, is conspiracy, which would indicate that certainly the DA's office and the judge who signed the warrant believe that probable cause does exist for those charges.
I'm talking about your level of disappointment if it exists in these 2 officers.
Well, obviously we're disappointed in the concern that it's caused in the community and the apparent misconduct by our officers. Again, we still are completing our investigation, so I don't want to get too much ahead of ourselves, but I think the affidavit speaks for itself.
Chief, could you talk a little bit about your concern, if there is concern about what all of this is doing perhaps to the public perception of your department and the morale of your department?
Yeah, that's a very good question because that's one of our primary concerns, actually. We work very hard in the Boulder Police Department to have positive relationships with our community members, and we work hard to work with our community. And I think there are many examples of that occurs on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and a monthly basis. So when something like this happens, the behavior of a couple officers can really tarnish the reputation of the department, and sometimes all of us get painted with the same brush. I really think that's unfortunate because 99% of our employees are absolutely professional in what they do. They care very much about this community. They care about their jobs. They want to help people, and that's what they try to do every single day that they come to work. And I can tell you, every employee in every corner of this organization is discouraged by this. They're concerned about this. And yeah, they're a little bit depressed about this because it does reflect on all of us. And, we're committed to rebuilding that trust. It's going to be one person at a time and one call at a time.
With the announcement of the arrests, have you already had some positive feedback from the community or anyone?
I haven't had time today to really be involved in what's happening in the community. We've been pretty busy.
One of the residents from the neighborhood told us that she felt betrayed by the people that are there to help in her neighborhood. Is this a betrayal of that trust, of that public trust of, an officer going and doing this? Is this a betrayal of public trust?
Well, let me just talk generally.
Sure.
So anytime a police officer conducts themselves in a manner that's inappropriate or steps out of line, that's a betrayal to the community's trust. Anytime that happens. And so when you have a incident of misbehavior by police, yeah, I think we have violated that trust when that happens. But again, you have to look at how do we deal with those situations when they occur. And there isn't an organization out there that's perfect. And as I've said before, if I find the perfect police department, we'll do exactly what they're doing here in Boulder. But I haven't found one yet.
Is there any timeline on the internal investigation?
I would hope to have our investigation pretty well wrapped up by the end of next week. And then the review process starts. And internally, the review process goes very quickly in a matter of days. But because we have this combined community department member panel, and we have to give the community members time to find time away from work to come in and review the file, and then we set a time when they can meet and come to some decision on what recommendation they want to make. So that's really what will probably take a couple weeks for the review panel to have time to do that process.
Is it possible that your officers could be released from their jobs by the end of your investigation and before it actually moves into the court process?
I would expect that our personnel investigation and disciplinary review process would be completed prior to any criminal sanctions or prosecution, yes.
Chief, have the officers been asked to resign at this point?
No, sir.
Have you spoken to them since the arrests?
Not since the arrest, no.
Have the officers offered their resignation at this point?
No, sir. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.